work on the daily activities in order for the app to function very in a way it does, and so that we have help people to receive their goods. So our main goal is to revolutionize the food universe towards a more practical and enjoyable life. We want to become a leading company in food tech, and also to make lives better for our users. iFood was founded in 2011, and as you said, almost 3,000 employees. We had more than 40,000 orders in August, and we have more than 200,000 restaurant partners in the platform, as well as more than 150 active delivery partners. I think when we are talking about the future of work, the end of the delivery partner refers to service provider whose work dynamics would be impacted by this new economy and the new technologies that we face. It's our understanding that this is a changing reality, and that this debate is very healthy and also very welcome. I believe that one of the main indicators of this process is to ensure that the path that we choose to move forward does not lead us backwards. So iFood is always available to participate and collaborate in these discussions, as well as to help to build an innovative public policies that maximize these possibilities and opportunities.
Great, Renata. I would like to hear from you, like all of us, not only in Brazil, but all around the globe, this year was a crazy year. We were working and suddenly we had to go homes. A lot of people lost their jobs. And of course, I use very different kind of apps, but even those people who did not, they were working from home, they would need any help, any service, anything from the apps. So I can imagine like the increase you had on demand, and how the numbers must be crazy for 2020, right? And we've read, if you can share with us, I think it's public. If you don't, it's not a problem, but a lot of initiatives to help consumers, to help people who were like trying to order a food, or even for drivers, for deliver partners. Like, can you share with us all the initiatives that you had this year?
I think the main change for us is that it was a transformation from an occasional service to an essential service. And we had to help society to keep social distancing. The top priority for iFood was to act as an agent of good. So even if we had an increase in orders, the idea was so that we could spread that around to our partners. So we had a very active role in promoting measures to not only the employees, but also to the delivery partners, the restaurant. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of them. So I think we were one of the first companies to start home office and social distancing. We had a few tech solutions in the app. Some of them were related to contactless delivery, so that the driver does not need to have any contact with the person that they are delivering the goods. We had some donations, public donations in the app. Also, I think we were able to donate more than 300 tons of food, and also impact more than 45,000 families in May. We had tips for the drivers, and iFood doubled the tips that the consumer gave, so that we would also be more active on those roles. And we had some funds for the delivery partners. So one is for the delivery partners who need to remain quarantined due to COVID. And iFood will give them money from its Solidarity Fund based on the last 30 days of the deliveries, so that they would not work during this period if they were sick. And we had also a fund that would help people, the drivers who live or have contact with high-risk group, so that they were also feeling safe during these hard times. Of course, we had distribution of protective equipment, health plans for the drivers, and also providing courses to restaurants so that they would have could prepare the food safely, and also how they would have a better cash flow. And also we work with banks so that we could have receivables anticipated to restaurants, so they would have a better cash flow as well. So I think those are the main ones. So we work a lot to have a better environment in such a difficult times for everyone.
Yeah, great. Luis, I would like to hear from you as well, Luis. So, as the managing director at Lalamove, Lalamove was launched in 2013. So please correct me if I'm wrong. And I was checking your website. You are in 24 markets in Asia, Latin America, and the US, and you have more than 7 million clients and 700,000 driver partners. So you were about to come to Brazil, like São Paulo and Rio, right? And suddenly you have all this mess happening. So it's very good to hear your opinion as a businessman, a business person. I mentioned before, you also had a great experience working for 4 years at Uber. So from the business side, after you heard everything that Fernando and Renata share with us, how hard it is for you, like, to have this, let's say you have a global policy or you have a global product to launch, and you always have to be like paying attention on what's going on in Brazil. And sometimes you have to say, hey, here we have to make it different, because if you do this way in Brazil, some judge may understand that we are doing this and that, so it may have a bad interpretation. So please, thank you once again, Luis, and please share your experience with us.
Nice. You do have a lot of good information about Lalamove, and all the things that you mentioned are correct. We were founded in 2013, and we have a really large scale of operations in Asia. And then in the middle of last year, we expanded to Brazil, and Brazil was the first country in the West to have the presence of Lalamove. Definitely, these situations such as employee relations, independent contractor rules, and everything were key for our expansion here to Brazil. We are present now in São Paulo and Rio. And one of the reasons that made our founder and our executive directors to decide to launch through Brazil is the situation that we have regarding tech companies that have been here for much more longer time than us, such as iFood, such as Uber that you mentioned, 99, Didi, Cabify. And all these discussions that we had regarding employment and labor relations were key to give us some certainty about how could we operate in Brazil. One thing that is really important to bring as a perspective is that driver partners are a key part of our business. So I think that usually we see in the news, and we have a lot of things that don't translate what is the original idea that we have regarding driver partners. They are super essential to our operational, and the way that we treat them, and the way that we take care of them, and that we give them benefits, and that we can support them in our platforms to make a living is definitely a competitive advantage for platforms. This is why, for example, Renata mentioned a lot of iFood initiatives. Lalamove had a lot of initiatives that are similar to this one during COVID and everything. Also, when we talk about COVID, for us, in terms of the business, was super important, because we launched in Brazil, and 8 months after, we saw a lot of business switching from physical stores to online stores, needing delivery, needing a car where they can put their goods and take them to their customers, right? So, and also it's super important to explain a little bit about the Lalamove business. We are essentially a platform. So we are an app that connects driver partners that are looking forward to make an income from driving to clients that need a delivery system, and we have a different kinds of vehicles. So we have from motos, cars, and going to trucks, like, so different size of business here. So, and also the thing that I want to really bring to the table is this, the decision that was taken when Lalamove expanded to Brazil is also being considered when we think about expansion globally. So all the time when you see discussions such as this one that is going on in Brazil, continues to going on in Brazil, as also Fernando mentioned at the beginning, was super important for our initial operation here in Brazil. But when you think to expanding the operation to the US, to Europe, and you see all the discussions that we have nowadays in the news, and they are super important for the business model of these platforms, also impacts the global scale that Lalamove can take, and also all the opportunities that we can generate for driver partners, for new clients, for employees, and everybody. So this is also these 2 points is super important. Having the solid laws regarding labor and labor relations, and having also is key for our success and also our expansion, and also bring this topic to the table that driver partners are essential to our platform. They are not like someone that we treat as a number. We really want them happy, and we really want them satisfied about being connected to our platform. And I'm probably not talking only about Lalamove, also talking about other apps here.
Yeah, Luis, I totally see your point. And just like Fernando mentioned something before, like people who are judging these cases and people who are working on the legislation, they have to understand, right? So I'm not talking about Lalamove or iFood, but any app. If you don't have a restaurant, if you don't have a consumer, you don't have the platform. If you don't have the driver, if you don't have the courier, if you don't have the lawyer, in this example I just gave, you don't have the app. So it's based on it's not a one way, it's like a two-way. So the platform must be in the middle and both sides must be happy with that. So we have an example. Uber left Colombia for a few months in the past because of what they tried to impose in terms of law to the company. So here is the same. I can see that most of these companies, just like both of you mentioned, it's not that they don't want to share, they don't want to give like benefits or whatever they can call. We have different expressions for that in Portuguese. The point is, if they do that, some judge or some court may rule against the company because they did it. On the other hand, we have the public opinion say, hey, look, the company X, they don't do that. Company Y does that. So it's a very, like, you have to be careful when you're handling this. So I think we can move to our next session, in which we are going to address, and I think Fernando is the appropriate person to share with us. Right now we have more than one bill, but one of them is the most popular, or the most is the bill 3748, right, Fernando? So they are supposed to address the future of work, the work on demand that you were mentioning, and they have some basic rules. What can you share with us about this?
Yes, thank you, Diogo. First, I just wanted to add that what you said is actually right on target. If you have given a lot of benefits, a judge will find that an independent contractor or a partner is actually an employee. But the general public will say that if you don't, oh, that company doesn't do anything for their partners. So you actually find yourself between a rock and a hard place. So it's very hard.
So, I had the same feeling when he said that, because it's some of the discussions that we face every day. So we want to provide more measures and try to help. Even we have an insurance for the drivers. If you think on a legislation that we currently have in force, it might be a little bit risky to provide such benefits. So it's very hard to know how to proceed. And I fully agree. Our main goal is to have the driver, the safety of the driver and everything, so that they have a good working condition. So the balance is very hard for.
And Fernando, just before you start, and maybe Renata and Luis don't feel comfortable to say that, but I can. So even if you request a car, or if you order food or whatever, if you talk to these people, they don't want to be employees. They don't want to have like, they don't want to work from 9 to 6, or even like from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. They don't want to have someone calling them in. Right now you have to go to this place. Right now you have to go to that place. And it's exactly what Fernando mentioned about the president we had. So these people can decide. So today I don't want to work. This week I don't want to work. Oh, if you don't work, you are not going to be paid. But it's your choice. It's not my choice. So I think we are on the same page. We understand that we don't have the specific laws we would need to have. We should have this in the future. But Fernando, it's your the table is yours. So please share. What do you think we can have in terms of legislation for the future?
Well, as you said, we have two main bills right now going through Congress. It's Bill 3748 and Bill 4172. They are probably going to become one after the discussion, but the main one is the 3748. It was from a very young Congresswoman, Tabata, and she's very active, very well, how do we say, educated. But she has points of view that actually benefits the relationship itself, but other points that could be seen as impractical to the companies and to the business model itself. So it's actually a bill in order to establish a work-on-demand relationship and rules in order to have this kind of relationship valid, with benefits, with regulations, and also with rules in order to not, in order to the relationship not to be seen as an employment relationship. So it's still going on in Congress. It's still being discussed. It's being discussed by the companies that work with work-on-demand platforms here in Brazil, because of that inviability of a business model if the bill passes as it is right now. So it determines right now that every work-on-demand platform should provide minimum hourly wage to the drivers, to the couriers, to the profession itself that's being held on as partners. Also, inside the same fee, it puts a lot of benefits, not benefits, but a lot of rules that are set in our legislation regarding employees, such as paid weekly rests, such as holidays with 1/3 additional, that's based on our federal constitution, and our Christmas bonus, that is the 13th salary. So instead of you paying all these funds, all these amounts in separately, you just insert every amount in the same fee, and that fee is actually given to the partner. It actually says that is actually a decision in order for the government to have, but maternity leave, maternity assistance as well. So when a partner is pregnant, and since the time of the pregnancy until I think 4 months afterwards, it has to have the assistance when the mother is not working. So that's going to be from the government, not from the people. Sickness allowance as well, as the same as the employees have right now, and unemployment insurance paid by the government as well, but based on the fees that are applied to the companies. So every partner, they have a possibility to have an unemployment insurance based on a couple of regulations. So if they have a period of grace of 15 months working in a platform, working for a single platform, with the remuneration of the compensation equal or higher to the minimum wage in Brazil, they are entitled to an employment insurance if they actually prove that they are not working for that platform or working with that platform anymore. The next one is the compensation for the work's tools of work. So that's one of the issues right now in this bill, because imagine Uber, imagine iFood, imagine Lalamove. If they have their own working tools, they have to have a compensation to use them. So if an Uber driver has his own car, or of course he owns his own car or he rents his car, Uber would have to compensate the driver not only by the fees of the races itself, but as well as the damage of the car and the fuel and the car itself. So that applies to every platform. And the thing is, it regulates what is not considered an independent contractor, and that could be seen as a good thing, because the mischaracterization right now in the labor courts, they are seeing if one thing, a single thing from 20 different arguments could be seen as a very important part for an employment relationship to be characterized. So the law itself already puts some requisitions and some requirements in order to the relationship not to be mischaracterized as an employment relationship, such as the platforms could not apply penalties if the users do not respond to the commands. So
question there, Fernando. I was just waiting for you to get there, because for me, like, this doesn't make any sense. So just one step back. How are we going to address this? Of course, okay, minimum wage, 10/3 salary, all these benefits that you just mentioned. But if you, let's say you order food right now, it's really common to see someone bringing the food, like wearing iFood jacket, having Logi backpack, and riding a bike with any other sticker, you know what I mean? Or even if you request a car to go to the airport or any other place, you can see that sometimes you request through one app, but the driver has another cell phone or another app, and he's receiving requests while he's driving you to the airport. So how are you going to manage that? Who is going to pay? And here you just mentioned a very important point. The company cannot, it's right here, it's Article 3. It's an essential requirement to the work on demand, the full liberty of the freedom of the worker to accept or not the service request. It means that I can be driving through one platform and the other one I don't accept. So yes, both companies would have to pay me minimum wage and all these benefits. How would that work in practical terms?
Yeah, the thing is, we were actually trying to address this for a couple of companies when the bill was actually written in the beginning, and we are still having a lot of questions regarding this. Our understanding in the law firm is that the minimum hourly wage will be based on a prorated amount. So the thing is, in this bill itself, it doesn't say about the connection time, but in Bill 4172, it does says. So we do have the connection time as an argument. We know it's not going to work as well because of that, what you said, because I can be logged onto Uber, onto Cabify, and to 99 at the same time, working for each company as I want, which one is going to give me a better fee at the time. So yeah, right now it's very complicated to have a minimum wage based on this, and as well as the compensation for the work tools, because we can have one car working for 3 different companies, and the compensation will not work. What I think they're going to try to do in the future, in the near future, is if this article, if this section is actually maintained on the bill, is to have the compensation for the work tools based on the fee itself. So if you have a fee, and the compensation of the work tools will be added to this fee regarding either the kilometers run, or if it's another service, by the provision itself, the price of the provision itself. So it's not going to be based on the car or the fuel or the price of the fuel and so on. I think it's going to be regarding the fees. And of course, you can actually add inputs to this, Renata. I think
let's listen from them. Renata and Luis, feel free to join us in this discussion. How do you see all these, and what can we expect from your perspective?
From my end, I think we can see a lot of uncertainty still. I recently read an article from a newspaper, Folha de São Paulo, which is very traditional, and they said that we had only this year 30 new initiatives, 35 new initiatives in Congress. So this is one per week to discuss such matters. So we actually haven't seen anyone any those bills that would reflect the real needs that we have. So as Fernando pointed out, we see some good articles in some bills and another in other. So we understand that still a new regulation would be necessary to address all of those issues that we are discussing.
And also another perspective is that it's super difficult to find out one size fits all kind of bill or kind of law, because you have such a diversity of driver partners that connect to the platforms with different objectives, with different lifetime in the platforms, that one bill that is going strictly to address one point that relates sometimes to old ideas is definitely going to hurt everybody, and not only beneficial a specific part on this platform. As I mentioned before, driver partners are super important, and they are a competitive advantage. The way that you have a relationship to them can be a huge competitive advantage for you in your business landscape. And the company that doesn't address their needs, that doesn't grow with the driver partner, is not going to have a successful business in Brazil. And also in other countries.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
so a little bit of what what Diogo said, because when you ask the drivers how they would like to address this issue, we had some numbers that would say that more than 70% of these workers prefer to work independently. So it's hard when you have a bill that says about otherwise. So it's how, and I fully agree, how are you going to have all of this in one legislation or a contradictory one? So it's a difficult discussion still.
Yeah, and one more thing that we have to bear in mind, just like Fernando was saying, so we are trying to move from an employee condition to an independent contractor model. So we are looking for something in between. It's not reasonable that, for example, if one driver or one courier has 5 apps at the same time, he's going to be paid 5 times the minimum wage. Of course, it doesn't make sense at all, because just like we mentioned, this driver can be delivering using one app, and he's going or she's going to be paid 4 times. So how to address that? It's not the point of discussion here, but I think we have a data, and considering that in Brazil we have this new law that we have data protection, how could the government, the authorities have access to this? So, okay, you were working for 1 hour, but in 1 hour, you made 3 deliveries using this app. You had like 3 rides using this one. So you are going to be paid 1 minimum wage in 1 hour. So these companies should split it in the price, just like Fernando mentioned. And one more thing that, from my perspective, is really sensitive in Brazil, especially because we have a lot of safety issues. So there is a specific session here with a lot of rules to activate and deactivate the drivers. So you have to give them information, you have to give a lot of details. So imagine if you have a driver who just drove, let's use the same example again, who just drove Fernando to the airport. They had a problem and they had a fight. So how long would the company and the driver take to have access to that information? This driver, this person, or this rider, let's consider the rider here, this person will have the app activate, so he or she is able to do any other thing with this, and we have people who is going to be at risk because of this. We need to be fast, we need to act really fast. So I think this is another issue we have to address in this.
Yeah. Regarding the minimum wage, just one point that I'd like to make is that we have even contradictions in the same bill, because when you say that you have a minimal or hourly wage in Tabata's project in bills 3748, then you have the unemployment insurance that you have actually to prove that you got more than a minimum wage. So for one single app, in order to get. So in order to have the minimum hourly wage in one part, and in the other, you cannot have the minimum wage. So it's a little bit weird, at least that, because in the same project we have the contradiction. And when you see one project to the other, the contradictions are even more, because when you have seen that in the second project that I mentioned, the 4172, that the minimum wage would be based, the wage would be based in the connection time and not the actually worked time, you can be connected to every app in the region, and you can get 3 times, 4 times what they actually you worked. You don't have even to work. You just have to be connected. And then when you see that in the first project that I was mentioned, one of the mischaracterization of the relationship is punishments for not accepting commands, and the other is the mischaracterization is like promotions or higher fees if you are actually connected for a longer time. So in one bill, if you're connected for a longer time, this is a mischaracterization of the independent contractor relation, and it's going to be an employment relationship characterized. But in the other, you got paid how much you are actually connected. So we have to have a lot of work on these bills yet. We cannot have them as they are, but at least we're having them discussed. As I said before, I think there are good points here, but many of them, they have to be discussed not only with the government, the Congress, but with the companies, and as Renata mentioned, the partners. Because since I became a litigator for 99 Cabify, and I went to, I'm sorry, Diogo, but I never use Uber anymore. And then I asked every single driver that I got if they prefer to be an independent contractor or not, and also if they worked for Cabify and 99 the whole time, and they said, of course not. I worked for Cabify, 99, Uber, every app at the same time. So it's going to be a little bit.
I think this is a great expression that you just used for us to close up here, because you just mentioned you have the right to choose. If you want to ride a cab, you can. If you want to ride 99, Uber or any other, if you want to use iFood, Uber Eats, or any other app, you can, Lalamove, Logi, whatever. You have the choice as a user, as a rider, let's call like that. So this is the same thing that we are talking about for drivers, for partners. They have the choice between app A, B, C, or D. So this is like the most important thing, and we have to keep that in mind, because otherwise these companies are not going to invest in Brazil. These companies are not going to bring such amazing benefits that both of them, Renata and Luis, just mentioned. And we have, considering the numbers we mentioned in the very beginning, 3.8 million people who depend on these apps as their only source of income. And of course, we have a lot of tax here included, a lot of employees. So we have to bear all this in mind. Our time is almost over. So Renata and Luis, please, is there any other message you'd like to share?
Thank you very much for the time here. It's always good to have those discussions. I just want to add something that I think it's also important that, as you said, that we gather some data, and I think we need to study the matter so that we don't have any legislation that does not take into account all the parties to these relations. So we all, as iFood, we have partnered with FGV also to investigate these new models, and I think that could eventually lead to a good solution to everyone. So.
Great, Renata. Thank you very much. Luis?
also want to thank a lot for the invitation, for the time here to discuss. This is a really important discussion that we are having in Brazil that is going to have effects on other investments that we're going to have in the future, not only thinking about Lalamove, but also taking Lalamove example as we saw the success that other platforms had in Brazil, and we wanted to have also an investment here, an operation here. So also this is in this discussion that we had regarding employee relations, new laws and everything is super important for everybody and also for the future of this kind of tech business in Brazil.
Perfect, Luis. Again, on behalf of BGS, Berkeley Global Society, thank you very much for your time, for your contribution to this panel. And Albin, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you, Diego. Thank you,
Bye.
Renata. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. It was very interesting. We have the same issues everywhere in Europe. So it was a great discussion. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.